Welcome guys, this is the first video for grade 11 university level math. My name is Mr. Lupos. This is what we call Unit 1A. And let me see if I can get a different color here. Unit 1A, and this is for days 2 and 3 where we look at factoring. So all this is a review from last year. And what I'm going to do right now is just go over some examples of different types of factoring. I'm going to change this guy right here real quick. And this is similar to the notes that we have for our second and third day of class. So first type of factoring is common factoring. If you CF right here, if you look at any sort of factoring question, the first thing you want to do is try to common factor. A lot of times you forget to common factor, especially later on with complex trinomials and that sort of thing, or even difference of squares. But always look to see if you can common factor first. It'll make your life a lot easier, and it's the right thing to do. Okay, so I look here and I have 9x squared plus 3xy, and I say, what is the biggest number and letter that I can get out of both these terms? So I have a term here and a term here separated by either a plus or a minus. 9 and 3, I can take a 3 out. I have an x squared, I have an x, so I can get an x out. I don't have a y here, so that's all I can do. So I have 3x is my common factor, and then I say 3x times what will get me back to my 9x squared? So I need another 3, and I need another x. So 3x times 3x, let me see if that's right. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. How do I go to this term here? How do I get from 3x to 3xy? Well, I need another y, and because it's a positive sign here, I'm going to multiply by plus y. So that is my common factor. Okay, difference of squares. What you're looking for are two terms. Each term, is a separate perfect square, and they are separated by a subtract sign or a negative sign. So if I have two terms and there's a negative sign in between them, or a subtract sign between them, I will be looking to see if both of the two terms are perfect squares, and if they are, then I can have a difference of squares. So I look at 4x squared and I say, is there something times itself that can give me 4x squared? And that is 2x. 2x times 2x, 2 times 2 is 4, x times x is x squared. And then is there something times itself that can get me to 25? Or do I know what the root of 25 is? Another way to look at it, and that is 5. So what I'm going to do is I have 2x plus 5 and 2x minus 5. And the reason that works is when you FOIL this out, your two middle terms, if we were to FOIL this out, we get 4x squared plus 10x minus 25, and just when you clean it up, plus 10x minus 10x cancel each other out, and you're left with 4x squared minus 25. So anytime you factor, you can go back and expand, either by foiling or just distribution property here. You could expand this out and figure out what this expanded is, and if it's correct, it's your original question. Simple trinomials are things like x squared plus 2x plus 5 or that sort of thing, where we have x squared plus bx plus c. It's always ax squared, but in this case, a simple trinomial will have an a equal to 1. Okay, and there are 4 different cases for that. And for that, this simple trinomials, I'm going to cheat a bit. I'm going to tell you that my numbers here, my factors, are going to have 5 in one of them. I'm not going to tell you what the sign is of either one, but we're going to look here, and we have 4 different combinations that can be made up of plus 5 and minus 5 and plus 1 and minus 1. And for the first one, I have x squared plus 6x plus 5. So what you want to do with simple trinomials is you want to get two numbers that multiply to this number and add to this number. Okay, I think what I do is I look at the signs, because it can get confusing. Is this a plus? Is this a minus? Is that a plus? Is that a minus? Okay. And the first thing I always do is I write my brackets out with my x's in them. So this is x, bracket x, close something, close bracket, open a bracket, x, close a bracket. Okay. And then I have to figure out my signs. And my signs, if I have a plus and a plus, that means I want two things that multiply. So if I have a plus or a plus, I have two things that multiply to a positive, and they add to a positive. Well, they both have to be positive. So that's why I put x plus and x plus in here. Now this is easy. I told you it's 5 and 1. And let's see if this works. Two numbers that multiply to 5 and add to 6. That's plus 5 and plus 1. In the second case here, I have two numbers that multiply to a positive number, but they add to a negative number. So if you multiply two negative numbers with each other, they will multiply to a positive, but their sum will be a negative. So if I go -2 and -3, they multiply to plus 6, but -2 minus 3 is -5. Okay, and in this case, that means that both my brackets will have negatives in them, and both my numbers are negative. So is that right? Two numbers that multiply to 5 and add to -6, -5 plus -1. Yep, that's correct. Third case is when you have a plus and a minus, and actually let's go to the fourth case also. That's a plus and a minus. In that case, you have two numbers that multiply to positive and add to either positive or negative. Well, if things are multiplying, two numbers are multiplying to a positive, one has to be, or to a negative, sorry. One has to be negative, one has to be positive. That's a fact, okay? So I know that this is a plus and this is a minus, and I also know in this case this is a plus and this is a minus because I have a plus and a minus. So, and a minus and a minus. But this is the key. Minus means these are different signs. Then you ask yourself this. Two numbers that multiply to negative 5, well, they have to be 5 and 1 because 5 is a prime number, okay? So I have either plus 5 and minus 1 or minus 5 and plus 1. But if they add to a plus, I know that the bigger of the two numbers has to be the positive. Because if I have a positive number and a negative number, I add them together, the bigger of the two is going to control the sign of this term here. So plus 5 minus 1 will get me my plus 4 right here. And conversely, I get plus 1 minus 5. My bigger number here has to be negative because when I add them together, this negative is bigger than this positive, and that makes, when I add them together, a negative. Okay, so that's simple trinomials put together. I will have this somewhere in the classroom. If not, write it up. Plus plus is plus plus, minus plus is minus minus, plus minus is plus minus, minus minus is a plus minus. And the bigger one here is a plus, and the bigger one here is a negative. Okay, you can rearrange this if you want to do this, to go with the biggest number first every time you can. Okay, or it doesn't matter as long as the sign goes with it. Okay, so you can rearrange any of these as long as the negative goes with the 5 and the negative goes with the 1. Or in this case, it wouldn't matter, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, so that's simple trinomials. That's